if I could hang out with my smartest friends and just code, like life में और क्या चाहिए, right?
ADHD, or the fact that awareness, social awareness is concerned, or do you feel that honesty is not something which I would sit down and say that okay, that maybe is a handicap at all?
You're actually bringing up memories that I don't actually ever sit down and reflect on. So in a way, thank you.
Suki was one of the companies you started. You talked about the fact that prior to that there was another company. Is it that curiosity in you?
So I tried getting Oracle to start their cloud in 2007, and Larry and his executive team basically told me that's a stupid idea. So I left.
The IT minister himself has talked about the fact that there is that entire aspect of Swadeshi and Atmanirbharta.
If you want to speak the truth, it helps to be clueless about politics. If you want to innovate, it helps to not know all the laws of physics from day one. If a company of that size can adopt a technology like Skyflow and feel comfortable of protecting data, that means it's doable.
Most founders and co-founders sugarcoat the struggle. Anshu Sharma, on the other hand, celebrates it. We got into a conversation with the CEO and founder of Skyflow, a privacy data vault company that is very quietly redefining how sensitive data moves across the world. It's one of the most brutally honest conversations we've had. From addressing fake privacy hype to debating whether founders of today are solving real-world problems or just chasing valuations. For builders and VCs, this one packs a lot of hard truths and takeaways that you won't hear on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Simulated Reality.
He's been a leader at Salesforce in the past. He's a serial investor and a man who's got a wonderful mind when it comes to innovation and trailblazing. Welcome to the show, Anshu. How are you doing? A big, happy honor to have you on the show with us.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Let's have some fun conversations and maybe we talk about privacy and maybe some other interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the other interesting stuff.
Well, we can just spend all the time on that.
Absolutely. All right. So Anshu, let's actually kick it off from the start. It's always a good place to start. The fact that IIT Kharagpur, the fact that you started off at a point where it was early in terms of your education was done and everything, and then you really ensconced yourself as far as the journey was concerned. I wanted to understand this from you, that usually speaking, when one tends to finish studies, when one tends to finish a degree, there is a sense of, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do here? Where am I going to go? How's the path of life going to figure it out? Were those questions constantly bombarding you, or was there a clear understanding in your mind that, okay, this is where I'm going and this is the path that I'm going to take?
I'm actually not much of a ruminator who thinks about my life for both practical reasons, but also I have this thing called ADHD and another thing called aphantasia. You can just spend half an hour talking about both of those things. But what that means is, like, I actually don't have a very good sense of time and history. I don't remember things in the short term. So you're actually bringing up memories that I don't actually ever sit down and reflect on. So in a way, thank you. I think I knew what I enjoyed learning. And I think in some ways I have only one driving force in life, which is curiosity. So when I was a kid, some subjects seemed boring, some subjects seemed interesting. I spent most of the time doing things I found interesting. I got exposed to a computer at a young age, thanks to one of these, Catholic Indian schools that we have in India. And, once I could make a machine do something, it's like a drug. Like, I don't know how you stop it. So it became sort of like, hey, I can spend time doing it. But it wasn't like I was obsessed with it or something. It's just like I enjoyed it the most. The next thing I enjoyed was physics, and the next thing I enjoyed was maths. And frankly, outside of computer science, physics, and math, nothing else held my attention other than girls. When you're young,
Always
that's
a
there
good
too.
idea. Yes.
Always a good idea, or boys if you're into that sort of a thing.
Sure.
But in my case, I stuck to computer science, and I think the idea that you have to get a job or even money is, those were not really things on my mind. I never
Fascinating.
knew whether, I didn't know whether we were rich or poor or middle class. I kind of vaguely knew, but I'm actually not very socially aware and stuff. So,
Mm.
anyways, I think at a young age, I heard about people like Bill Gates, and the only thing that I remember that was interesting about Bill Gates to me was the following quote that I think he said, which is like at some point somebody told him that he could hire his friends and just code.
Mm.
And like, I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, if I could hang out with my smartest friends
Right.
and just code,
Mm.
like, life mein aur kya chahiye, right?
सही बात, सही.
So that's became my thing. And then when I was in 12th grade, I have a friend, his name is Rahul Chopra, and his dad is name is Ramesh Chopra. He
Mm.
was an IIT grad, and like I'd never met anybody from like an engineering background. My entire khandan is like people from like, commerce and bankers and those kind of people. Um, and what was fascinating about his dad was like he didn't, you know, do the traditional job path. He actually started a company called EFI, which is an electronics magazine. And I was like, oh, so you can just code, hang out with your friends, and maybe you can just build your own thing.
Right.
And that's just lingered at the back of my mind. And then I went off to obviously Kharagpur to study. And, I was lucky I got into CS, so I could do the thing I loved.
Mm.
And then just kept doing that and came to the US, studied CS at UNC, went to work for Oracle because I like Java, went to work for Salesforce because in 2007 I became convinced the cloud is the right thing to do.
Mm.
So just like always following curiosity and not worrying about things like success and money.
It's fascinating, honestly, Anshu. Thank you so much for actually taking us through that wonderful little journey of yours. Because uh, when I was listening to whatever you were saying, I just have one thing before we actually get into the fact that, when you shifted and, of course, Salesforce and all of that, I want to obviously understand all of that.
Mhm.
But one thing you mentioned, which caught my attention, was the fact that as far as ADHD, or the fact that awareness, social awareness is concerned, or all of those facets, do you feel that I personally felt when you were talking about it, that honestly is not something which I would, well, sit down and say that okay, that maybe is a handicap at all. It is actually something which has helped you in a big way, because, well, not having a sense of the fact that okay, wait a minute, I don't have any memories of the past, I don't have any memories of all of those factors, just keeps spurring you on, because most of the times we get stuck with things like that. In your case, that's a boon. Would you say it like that today, maybe when you reflect?
To me, I'm
Again.
the median. I'm the median, right? Like there's only one of me and I'm the median of me. So I just assume that's how everybody's brain works. I think it was fairly late in my life when I started getting, you get to an executive role at a company like Salesforce and people start saying like, dude, like, can't you just shut up? Like, do you really have to like tell them your best, brightest idea in every fucking meeting? Sorry, pardon the French.
No,
And
fine.
and I was like, yeah, but like this is wrong and this is right. And like my most comfortable position is next to the whiteboard, right?
Yeah, right.
So at some point they start giving you executive coaches and they start sort of like, you know,
Mm.
at age 32 or 33, I think I became a VP. And then they're like, okay, but
Wow.
they give you people who are teaching you how to talk to press, and they failed me several times, and they got me an exec coach and he failed me several times. And I was like, what are you trying to do? They're like, well, if you had gone to a business school, you would have learned
Then,
these
yeah,
things. And I'm like, there's a reason I didn't go to business school. I don't want to be like those people.
correct.
I don't think anybody who does anything innovative is that. So I think it's just a matter of like not knowing. The
Mm.
only reason I know these things now is because, once you get into your 40s, you eventually learn like you're not normal and you can start guessing like some. But in my eyes, like I'm 100% normal and everything I do is
Honestly,
normal.
Anshu, I think
Yeah.
you redefine the new normal, if you ask me. Honestly.
Who's normal? Yeah. Like
That's
nobody knows what normal is.
That
My
is
view is life is short. I'm driven by curiosity. I love certain people that I like brainstorming with. And
nice.
if I get to work with people I think are smart and I find them funny and I like spending time with them, that's the whole thing.
And that's what
That's the whole
finally
thing.
matters, to be honest. Yes, I completely agree. I mean, that journey of one that one tends to chart out is one's own, and leave a footprint will where people can probably go ahead and get inspired from. And actually, come to think of it, it is a very inspiring journey as far as you're concerned, because of the fact that like you just mentioned, 32, you were a lead, you were, I mean, going ahead and heading a lot of things, which is what brings me to this. Building Skyflow with purpose, Anshu, was something that basically talked about the privacy first infrastructure aspect. Uh, what got you actually moving in that direction? Because, like you had mentioned, Oracle is where you started, because you said, okay, fair, cloud is where one needs to go. But what got you, as far as data privacy and that entire aspect, what germinated that thought and got you going in that direction?
So I'm driven by like fixing things.
Okay.
So the reason I joined Oracle was because it felt in those days that like a distributed language like Java was early.
Mm,
Um, it was the right way to write code
mm,
compared to assembly and C++ or whatever. At some point, it became very clear to me that like s- hiring consulting companies to implement software is stupid and buying on-prem software is stupid. So I tried getting Oracle to start their cloud in 2007, and Larry and his executive team basically told me that's a stupid idea. So I left and joined Salesforce. And at Salesforce, we just had so many customers' data
mm,
and we were trying to keep it protected. In fact, I think it's been in the news a lot last few days and weeks. There's about 1 billion rows of PII that's been data breached for Salesforce customers.
mm.
Now, Salesforce itself did not get breached, from what I understand, but there's 1 billion rows of people's data out there. Now, this is not an outstanding thing that's happened, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago,
Yes.
Facebook data was out there, Equifax data was out there. I was like, why does this keep happening?
Mm,
And again, just like I didn't know anything about cloud or SaaS before I joined Salesforce, I didn't know anything about privacy. Like, actually, nobody knows anything about privacy, ex- especially Zuckerberg doesn't know anything about privacy. Uh, but I was motivated with why are our social security numbers, which is the equivalent of Aadhaar,
Sure.
why are social security numbers, phone numbers just floating around in plain text? And at Salesforce, we try to encrypt some of those things. And you're like, okay, that's a good idea. But like encryption only works when the data is on a disk. Nobody's stealing the disk. When was the last time a data breach? By the way,
Yep.
people don't know this. If you're young, especially listening to this, people used to have their data on a computer server,
Yes.
which was not in Larry Page's data center, but was literally in your office. So if you worked in a office that had, a dentist office or any commercial office, people could at night just go away with the box, the storage, and they could copy the data. So almost all of security industry was built for securing the data
Mm.
in case somebody walked home with a disk. Kind of like how if you lose your iPhone, it helps to
Sure.
have your phone locked and encrypted. But knock knock, it's 2010 even, but today 2020, none of us are losing their data because somebody's stealing my laptop or my server.
Sure.
Uh, Data breaches happen in the cloud. So everything we were doing was opposite of what the problem was.
Mm.
And just from first principle, it felt like we should just keep the data encrypted all the time. The problem is, let's say you're using Flipkart or you're using Uber or Ola. The problem they have is if they have your phone number
Yeah.
and you call up and say, hey, my food didn't arrive on time, somebody has to search for you by your name or by your phone number, by your Aadhaar ID, last 4 digits.
Sure.
And if the data is encrypted or tokenized or whatever, then they can't do the search.
Right.
So at Salesforce, we couldn't run searches, we couldn't run analytics. So the data has to be in plain text to do that. And that's the fundamental problem. The thing we want to do, we as customers want that, by the way. It's not like Salesforce wants that or Flipkart wants that or Uber wants that. We as customers want you to figure out which my account number is without me having the full account number.
Correct.
So we want things from companies. That's why we give them this data. Companies, in order to service us, have to be able to search it, analyze it, these days build models on it, and then give you chatbots, right? But they can't do that if they can't see the data. Now, what happened was around 2010, there's a guy by the name of Professor Gentry at Stanford who created some new technology called homomorphic encryption. And this is how you know I'm a nerd. I watched his videos on YouTube. I watched his YouTube videos, try to understand how it works. It's some complicated math. And then for a while, I was like, look, the theory was you can multiply numbers and add numbers without ever decrypting them. And I was like, wow, like if we can do all the processing without decrypting the data, then everything would work. In fact, if you're really nerdy, that's how, by the way, blockchain works. When I transfer 3 Bitcoin from my account to your account, the reason nobody's been able to hack the Bitcoin or Ethereum is because the blockchain works on homomorphic encryption.
Right.
The problem is it works well for those kind of operations, adding 3 Bitcoin or deducting. It doesn't do anything for customer data. You can't search for customer data. You can't analyze the customer data. You can't build models on it. You can't chat with it. So I was like, concept to bahut sahi hai, but it doesn't work. So for a while, I was obsessed with like seeing if we could figure out how to make it work. In the meantime, I left Salesforce. I started a company called Clearedin, which is an email security company, which we sold to Barracuda. Then I started a company called Suki, which is a healthcare AI company, along with a couple other people who now run it. And so when I was starting Suki, I was like, the healthcare data for customers now has to be somehow managed securely. So when I left Suki,
to be honest, Anshu, very critical healthcare.
Yeah. So same thing kept coming back and back. And I was like, as interested I am as in healthcare, I know what problem I can solve mathematically.
Right.
And it felt like if we could just do this magical thing, it'd be magical. So it took us a while to figure everything out, but eventually we ended up building this thing called the Polymorphic engine, which is our secret sauce. And in layman's terms, it's very simple. It's like, imagine I can tell you whether you're 18 or not without looking at your full date of birth, right? Now, you and I can do that by looking at each other's faces.
Right.
But you could think of it as a polymorphic projection.
I'm still 21, I hope, right, Anshu? That's what you'd say?
Yeah. If you had a gray hair like me did, I would know you're above. So honestly, if you think about it, your face and your hair is a projection of your age.
True.
And I don't need to know your exact date of birth to tell you whether you're under 15 years of age or above 25 years of age. I may be confused by a few days.
Fascinating.
So we can actually figure out information without seeing it. Now the mathematical computer science of it, that we make it work, is hard and difficult, but you don't need to understand it. The basic thing is our customers can search for a customer by last 4 digits of their Aadhaar ID, phone number, or whatever, and find that customer and send them a text message. They can do the whole thing without ever seeing your phone number in plain text. Wow. So if your delivery driver can't see your phone number and still can text you, and they can still find your order, and they
Mm.
can refund you and they can process your payments without seeing your credit card number. तो
Mm.
हो गया ना?
Sahi point.
Now we've solved the problem.
Correct.
So that's the gist of it. Now, it you can call it data privacy, which is exactly what we are enabling for,
Sure.
for especially for women. The Ola driver and Uber driver can't just randomly like text you
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove your date of birth just to get some alcohol in the US. You need to be above 21. But if I'm 43 or 32, or my date of birth is yesterday or 6 months from now, you shouldn't know that. So we can do all of those things polymorphically. And that's basically our secret sauce. And then we call these things polymorphic engine based vaults and have these vaults running globally across 30 regions.
Wow.
And we can also solve data residency with that. So it becomes this really simple, basic architecture piece. And if you think about it, all of us use single sign on. You don't have your password in plain text to do that.
True.
We all use, other tools, and we've just basically figured out how to help companies work with customer data, both in databases, data warehouses, applications, but also in PDFs, in notes, in even voice files. And people can do that without any plain text ever being present, unless you need to print it, right? If you need to print it, and you need to text somebody, by the way, texting is happening through like Twilio or Vonage or Gupshup. Only that thing needs to know your phone number, but that thing doesn't need to know who your name is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's how Skyflow operates. We basically solve a problem using polymorphic encoding, and with that magic, you can actually have your cake and eat it too. You can actually run a business without ever seeing anybody's phone number, email address, or date of birth.
Wow, it's like you just said it so simply a while back when you said, I like solving problems, and the fact that concept to acha hai, and finally you went ahead and you translated all of that, Anshu, in a brilliant way, because you've made so many things seamless across the board. But before actually I want to get into that aspect a little, dive deep into that. I wanted to ask you about this. Investment is something which you have done. You've like you just mentioned, Suki was one of the companies you started. You talked about the fact that prior to that there was another company. Is it that curiosity in you, which you had mentioned earlier, that keeps you going in that aspect or that direction, which is that okay, wait a minute, I will invest here. I will. What's that? What's that thing that drives you? Because it's very interesting. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times,
So
why I'm asking you this is a lot of times, if I were to, let's say, talk about myself, at the back of their mind, there is this thing of, yeah, risk hai, I'm putting in the funds or I'm doing this. Chalega nahi chalega. You know what I mean? Basic human things, instincts. Whereas you've probably overcome that, or probably that has never even affected you in your head. That's why I asked you.
I think it helps to be clueless in life in certain domains, right? So it's like, um, if you want to speak the truth, it helps to be clueless about politics. If you want to speak, uh, if you want to innovate, it helps to not know all the laws of physics from day one. People who knew the laws of physics don't create gravitational theories of relativity, right?
Wonderfully said.
So it's you have to be somewhat of an idiot, like Mark Benioff, who was CEO of Salesforce and a little bit of a mentor to me. He has this thing he repeats again and again. You get tired of hearing it, but it's like you have to have a beginner's mind, and it
Beautiful.
sounds easy, but it's actually one of the hardest things to do, because in a beginner's mind everything is possible because you don't know anything. In an expert's mind, most things are impossible because you know the answer to everything. So if I really knew everything about encryption engines, I would say this is not possible. Like,
Sure.
how are you going to search without doing this? Now, there are papers. Now, if you're curious, you'll find out there is actually papers. There's like 100 papers on doing searchable query encryption. So we had to start from not knowing, and then It wasn't just me, the founding team. We all came together, we worked together. We had some crazy ideas. There's people like Rashmik and Daniel Wong and Amruta, my chief product officer. Over the years, we've taken that idea. No idea is formed fully,
Sure.
half baked. It's
Yeah.
like we think this could work, but this has this corner case problem, this corner case problem. So I think that's how, coming back to about your question on investments,
Yes.
I started investing because one of my friends, Dheeraj Pandey, and Mohit Aran and Ajit were leaving a company,
Mm.
and Bipul, who's now the founder of Rubrik, was investing in them, and they were looking for somebody to like help complete the round, because in those days what they were building was insane. They were building a storage company, and I just knew these people were smart and I wanted to be around them. So my
Sure.
criteria for investment is being very simple, which is like, hey, if I can be around smart people and learn, then I give them money. So it started with that one, and then it, yeah, I got lucky with those guys and became a public company. But then, I
Nice.
met with Herschel, and that's how I invested in Razorpay and Jay and
Yes.
Techion and all these guys. And every time it was just like, this makes sense. Like, why wouldn't so funny enough, the only idea I think I wasn't sure about will work was actually Nutanix.
Oh, okay.
Because I was
Yes, sir.
like, because I didn't know anything about storage.
Okay.
So that was a pure team bet. Like, you know,
Mm.
Ajit and Dheeraj and Mohit are so brilliant. I'm
Mm.
just going to give them all the money that I can
Mm.
and see what happens. So that was a pure, I don't always make pure talent bets, but that was one of them. And I think Techion, the car dealership software company, was probably another talent bet. I was like, who makes money selling to car dealerships? It's like stupid business. But like Jay is so intense, and he worked for Elon Musk for years. I'm like, okay, this is a good
Chalega.
cause. It's like it's a charity, like my form of charity.
Nice. But that's a beautiful flight of mind, I must say that, Anshu, that and with God's grace, it's worked out. The fact that you've backed your instincts, you've backed the fact that it has to be a beginner's mind. And but do you still let's say enjoy that aspect? Do you still celebrate being a beginner's mind? Or is it tough for you to kind of
It's very
constantly
easy for me because I don't remember anything. I don't know what's not possible. I am surrounded by curious, bright people. And,
right?
one good thing about Silicon Valley is like everybody is an idiot like you. So it just feels normal. I think I literally made two investment decisions in last 24 hours. One is a,
Wow.
woman, she's starting a venture capital fund, and she's like young and smart. And she's like, I've been talking to her for years, and she's like, look, you know, would you invest in my fund? I was like, sure. And purely because I think she's brilliant. Her
Okay.
name is Ohana. And then another person is starting a company in an AI space. And again, because of what we do, we've had an
Mhm.
opportunity to work with companies like Hippocratic AI and GoodRx and all these companies doing amazing AI things. So I know the security privacy part of AI, but through that process, I know who's doing well. So this guy, this afternoon I met, he's looking for some advice on like which VC he should be working with. And I was like, dude, if you will take my money, I'll be honored. And he obviously immediately said yes. So I'm
Nice.
actually surprised people take my money, but like,
Yeah.
there was used to be a time when money was in short supply. When I
Yeah.
started investing,
Mm.
finding money was hard. Today, you ask most investors, giving money is hard, which is a sign of times.
Wonderfully put. AI implications. Of course,
Hmm.
the way things are, and I'm bringing you back now to, let's say, the data privacy aspect, Anshu.
Hmm.
Uh, So essentially, it protects sensitive data. We've established that.
So
Uh,
look, India has just passed the DPDP law
right,
last
right.
year.
I was
It's
coming to
about
that.
to be enforced. It's the same exact spirit, which is, you know, at some point, either the people or
Yeah.
the government by the people for the people
Mm.
decides we can't negotiate with companies one by one key, please don't lose my phone.
Correct.
Like I'm giving you my phone number, please don't lose my phone number. So in the end, you come up with these laws that basically say very simple things. Don't use my phone number for things I didn't give you my phone number and Aadhaar ID for.
Sure.
Um, don't send them abroad and mine them. And, you are not allowed to build models based on my personal life and my personal details.
Sure.
And to make all that work, again, at the same time, we all want the car to show up at my address, but I don't want them to know my address all the time. I want them to text me if the flight is late by 3 minutes,
I
but
don't
I
want
don't want
weird
them to.
stalkers all the
I
time.
don't want them stalkers. I don't want them to text without consent. So
Correct.
it becomes a very basic thing. Honor my consent, honor. So if you think about it, like I gave you my phone number for a reason.
Mm.
Use it for that purpose. I gave you my Aadhaar ID for a reason. Use it for that purpose.
Mm.
Protect it at all times, ideally through technical means. Don't have it lying around in hundreds of copies and say, oops, somebody stole a disk or somebody got into the cloud. And the third is delete it when I ask to be deleted.
Mm.
Now, if you don't create multiple plain text copies, it's easier to delete. But that's what the laws are. The laws are very straightforward in some ways. And I think for us, that's what, we've done that in US and Europe and Japan and, all these other countries. And in some ways, it's a straightforward application of that concept to the Indian ecosystem.
Fair enough. As far as clearly, Anshu, I would like for your thoughts for sure, especially on the fact that made in India is a wonderful wave that has taken off. You're of course clearly aware of it over the last, let's say, about 5 6 weeks. There has been
Mm,
it's being now backed up with policy. It's obviously the fact that just to give you one example, Zoho, for that matter, is really doing wonderfully well.
mm,
Cerebras is coming into India with a
mm,
footprint.
mm, mm,
The IT minister himself has talked
mm,
about the fact that
mm,
there is that entire aspect of Swadeshi and Atmanirbharta.
mm, mm,
You as a proud Indian, Anshu, I want to
mm,
understand how are you seeing this as a very important voice in the ecosystem? What's your
mm,
thought on this? I really want you to talk about that. And then of
mm,
course we are going to keep going ahead and moving on
mm,
as far
mm,
as data privacy is concerned. We're going to keep coming back.
yeah.
But this, I feel, how do you see it now? Where do you see
Mm.
it?
So, look, I think, first of all, it's important for my data to be used in the context and location that I meant it for.
Sure.
Uh, Second is we want to make sure that the country is sovereign. Every country is sovereign, right?
Yeah.
Like certain things shouldn't leave our national boundaries. I am a proud overseas Indian. I have an OCI card. I
Nice.
think there was a policy created by Vajpayee ji 20, 30 years ago, created the OCI program. So that's been amazing for overseas Indians. We're very proud. At the same time, I'm American,
Yes.
right? And I think if you think about it, you know, Gandhiji was, South African or British or Indian. Like, all of our best people, the guy who created the atomic bomb, I think studied abroad and came back and built the nuclear bomb in India. Wembu, right? He made most of his money selling networking software to American companies, and he was here. And so we thrive when we work with each other. India makes $100 billion with the remittances Indian
Yes.
expats send. And when we, because we have people working in Silicon Valley, we are getting these factories of Apple in India, right?
Yes.
So it's amazing to be connected. It's important to be self-sufficient for national security reasons and for important subjects. So I feel like the best way is to be secure, competent, and interconnected. And I
Mm.
think that's the direction in which we should be moving. We want, I want Wembu's app to be popular in India, and that's
Correct.
amazing. But I want to use it as an American too, and I want it to be popular in Australia. I want every cab driver in London to use it too.
Mm.
And I think, I want Razorpay to work in Germany next time I visit them, and I
Right.
want Flipkart to be used by, a Sri Lankan kid buying a toy. So I think it's important for India to be an export house. We
Mhm.
want our phones, our software. Now, how much of that phone made in India is Indian phone? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yes.
It's saffron in color, the new Pro phone, but some of the intellectual property is written by Indian engineers, some is frankly written by American engineers, and a lot of the hardware components come from China and Taiwan. So I think it's amazing what's happening.
Wonderful. So that means exciting times, Anshu. And how are you seeing, for example, specifically to Skyflow as far as these exciting times are concerned? How do you see that aspect influencing, let's say, your decision making moving forward? How are you probably going to be seeing contributing to this, or maybe using that
We've
way?
we've always had a huge we started our India office almost within the first few months of starting the company.
Hmm.
We've always had a huge presence. In some ways, Skyflow is made in India,
Yes.
and exported everywhere. And hopefully, the engineers that work in India are can be proud of the fact that we sell our software in Germany and Japan and Australia.
Hmm.
I think the Indian market's always been welcoming to us. It turns out when you have billion people, you automatically have billion PII. So it's been a fascinating space for us. We have a lot of amazing companies like Deserve Wealth Management to some very large e-commerce companies I can't name
Hmm.
that adopted Skyflow early on, even before there was a law on DPDP. These
Hmm.
guys are all pioneers in making sure you don't have to have pass a law to know that
Yeah.
if a customer is doing business with you, you shouldn't lose their phone number and Aadhaar ID. It's bad business. And also, by the way, there's competitive reasons, right?
Yes.
If I can download the top 1,000 customers of a company and start another
Yes.
competitor to Ola or Uber, you're screwed. If I can download the biggest vendors that sell to a
I-
e-commerce company, I can figure it out. So it's important to do the right thing for the customer, but it's very important for the company's own stuff. So we've always had a very healthy business in India.
Mhm.
And I think the DPDP wave is just accelerating it immensely. Just last night, I got a DM on LinkedIn from CISO of one of India's largest loan companies,
Nice.
and he's just like, "Hey, we really need to figure out how to handle data security better."
Mm.
And I think that's the pattern we are seeing. We are seeing a lot of people doing it for the right reasons, and the fact that we have a law that's coming in
Mm.
is giving them a little bit more budget and a little more justification to do it faster.
Wonderful. I want to understand this, Anshu, from you. It's something what you just mentioned, which is the fact that you don't really need a law to understand that this is very, very critical and is very important. But I want to ask you this: do you still feel that you need to keep educating companies, or do you still need to keep doing it in terms of the fact that the way technology is
You
kind of,
know,
huh?
what it is either you are breached or one of your competitors is breached
That's
every
why I
three
wanted
to
to
six
ask you
months.
this. That's
So
why.
they are paranoid.
Hmm.
What happens is it's like we see people falling sick and getting a heart attack, but
Right.
we don't always
That
connect the dot.
escalated very quickly, Anshu, falling
Yeah,
sick
it
and suddenly
did,
getting a heart attack.
right? But you don't connect it to eating high calorie, Mughlai food every night.
Correct.
So yes, I can see this person is overweight and is having health issues. Similarly, I can see that competitor of mine just had a data breach. But we are all weird in the sense two things happen. One is like mere ko nahi hoga, like
I was going to
this
say
other
that.
guy.
Correct, huh?
But eventually, the CEOs of the smartest companies actually know that. That's the second thing that happens is what can I do about it,
Hmm.
right? So if nobody in your family exercises, it won't even occur to you. If
True.
nobody in your family eats healthy, it won't even occur to you
Hmm.
till one of your friends starts eating healthy or starts going to the gym or whatever, right? We all see that. So the amazing thing is we got customers like ServiceNow in the US and
Hmm.
Walmart. ServiceNow is one of the largest software companies. Walmart is one of
Yeah.
the largest, literally the Fortune 1 company. And we got some amazing innovators like, Hippocratic AI to, Wheel and all these companies. And when people see, oh, if a company of that size can adopt a technology like Skyflow
Hmm.
and feel comfortable of protecting data, that means it's doable. Like, it's like even I can go for a
Correct.
walk of at least like,
One
maybe
kilometer.
I'm still eating samosa, but at least I'm going walking to go get the samosa and not sitting in the back of the car, right? So it starts, suddenly it goes from, it's never going to impact me. And even if it does, what can I do about it?
Hmm.
To, oh, there are two-person startups,
Sure.
right? So we have this customer called Equal. They're an amazing company. When I started
Right.
working with them, I think they were like two people, five people. And now they're a massive company and they're doing incredibly well. But if you're starting a company today, you can see that if Equal can do it and Deserve can do it and Walmart can do it and ServiceNow can do it, what's your
Hmm.
excuse?
Right.
And I think that's what we want to tell people. Like it's like, it's like using UPI in some ways, right? The rickshawala can do it and
Correct.
a billionaire can do it. Same
Correct.
is true for Skyflow. It's an API call. We turn your Aadhaar ID and phone number, email address into this polymorphic thing, but you
Hmm.
don't need to know anything about polymorphic. And we just help you then send text messages and search and use the data, and you're done.
That helps. That pitch of yours definitely helps. I guess it gives a certain sense of comfort to it. As far as uh, reinvention is concerned, it's I do you feel, Anshu, that has been something which has been very important for you, maybe now when you look back, that you've because I sense it clearly in terms of the journey till now that I've been able to understand that you've had. Do you feel that you've constantly been able to reinvent yourself, and that is maybe, I don't know, a cornerstone for longevity, as far as, let's say, work is concerned, as far as, let's say, Skyflow is concerned? Because I think, to be honest, you've hit gold as far as this aspect is concerned. Data will forever require for it to be private, and for that matter, it being something which is at the heart of everything. So, how important is that aspect for you?
You know, the hardest part was like thinking like, what if this is the biggest problem in security? Like at the end of the day, when you hear about a data breach and you open up the phone these days, but newspaper in the old days, what's the thing you're looking for? You're
Hmm.
looking for like, did they get other IDs and phone numbers,
Correct,
right? Like,
correct, correct.
who cares about anything else, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
like, thank God passwords don't get lost anymore because Todd, my friend, started Okta and, another Salesforce guy.
Right, right.
But we don't worry about password loss. Remember when passwords used to get lost all the time
Yes.
and now they don't? Like, when was the last time you heard about a big password breach? So we do solve problems. It doesn't feel like we solve problems, but between OTP and
Hmm.
password managers, Face ID and all that stuff,
Oh,
we've actually solved passwords. And I think if we do our job right, we will solve the problem of phone numbers and account numbers and Aadhaar IDs ever getting breached,
and that's the
right?
reinvention
It's a
bit, right?
solvable problem. To me, well, I don't know about it's reinvention or not. I like it when you can actually have a final answer to a problem. That's
Nice.
not half-hearted. Like a lot of things in our life are like, okay, if you do this thing, like think about
देखते
medications.
हैं
Some
हो जाएगा.
medications are like, okay, if you take this thing will lower your chances of getting this disease by 7% or 17%.
Right.
But it's different than like when somebody invents a polio vaccine and you're like, look,
True.
you just take the polio vaccine, million people used to get disabled and then zero. And there's
Yes.
something beautiful about solving a problem
Hmm.
versus making money just like nibbling at it. And
Yeah.
I find it very dissatisfying to be working on a problem that does like you nibbling and nibbling and nibbling. Like, can we just solve it? And to me, that's exciting.
And it
And if you
should.
can do some, and you can do some polymorphic math while doing it, even more fun.
Yeah, yeah. It almost brings like a little smile on your face every time you use the term polymorphic as a secret sauce.
Who doesn't like it? Everybody loves it.
Okay. Finally, Anshu, I would like for you to probably shed light in this.
Mm,
It's been the journey has been great. It's going to continue
mm,
to
mm,
be that way, onwards and upwards. I mean, those are the only things that I
mm,
can wish and
mm,
pray for
mm,
you
mm,
and your company and your family and your friends.
mm,
And I wish
mm,
that you are surrounded by smart people. Today
mm,
you are. Sorry, I
mm.
just had to bring that in. No, but transferable lessons,
Mm,
because that is something which I would like for you to
mm,
please share with
mm,
all of our viewers, with a lot of the
mm,
people. What are
mm,
the lessons because that you've had? Because it's been such a varied path that you've followed.
mm,
It I would love for you to pick your brain on that because
mm. So first of all, don't listen to podcasts that talk about success only, right?
thanks.
Uh, it creates a perception that everything is going linearly up. The reality is, I started Suki and, I had to part ways within the first year and a half because of some reasons. So then you're like, okay, I started a company that's now doing amazing, but
Yeah.
like I have to start another company. My other company, we got to a certain stage and then we have to sell the company to Barracuda. Got an exit, but like wasn't the greatest outcome. Uh, when I started in Oracle, when I tried to build Oracle Cloud in 2006,
Hmm.
they basically laughed me out of the building. I left Oracle without really a job. Like I had some shitty job, but in the end,
Hmm.
Salesforce, CTO current Steve Fisher found me, homeless, and took me in and gave me a great job. But like my point is, we all skip over the parts of the story where things were not going entirely in your direction. Even at Salesforce, like I had a fabulous 7 years, but in the end, I got pushed out. And,
Right.
I've done a whole Twitter thread on that if you want to read about it.
And that was a
And
leadership role.
it was a leadership role. And suddenly you're like, oh, what the hell happened? Like I thought I would be the next Satya Nadella, and here you are, like without a job. So remember that when you get fired or when you got divorced, in my case, or when when in some people's cases you lose somebody important in your life. I had to leave India in those days. Like, we didn't have, young people don't know this, but we didn't have FaceTime in 2000.
Yes, we
So,
did.
so there's a lot of downs, and you know, maybe one day I'll do a podcast on just failures. Like we'll just get all the famous people.
Let's
We'll
do
just talk
that.
about all the
Honestly,
ways they
Anshu,
failed, right? Like,
let's you and
you
I do
talk,
that. I would love to. Believe you
think
me.
about it, right? Right?
Yes.
Like, because everybody has failures. Like the reality is, I'll give you some failure example. You know, Mark Benioff started a bunch of companies, and Salesforce is the only one you've heard of because the
Yes.
other ones didn't work out.
True.
Uh, he launched dozens of products. Many of them are very successful. They make $30 billion a year, but
Hmm.
some died.
Right.
Like for every successful person, I can tell you how many things went completely wrong, right?
Oh,
And then the key is, like Oracle, they missed out on big data, they missed out on SaaS, they missed out on cloud, they almost missed out on AI, and now they're almost $1 trillion company because Larry never gave up. So to me, important thing is to know everybody that you think is very successful has failed multiple times. Risk taking means failure. There's no such thing as like, I've invested in 80 companies. I can tell you many of them have died without making any money. But if you do it more or less correctly, there will be a few wins and they're more than, make up for the losses. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing I tell all the younger people, I have lots of nephews and nieces, and my only advice is like, find something that interests you, right?
Nice.
You
Nice.
know, it's very few things in life will hold your interest for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? It's 10:07 p.m. right now where I'm in California. I'm going to end this call in 23 minutes. I'm going to start another call with a head of product in India who, is trying to negotiate some deal with me. I'm going to do that for 30 minutes. It's going to be 11 p.m. Then probably going to read some stupid paper on LoRa, which is the fine tuning algorithm, because I read something this morning and it's on my mind.
Right.
And that's going to give me joy. Reading
Nice.
the paper. Now
Yeah.
think about how many people in our lives, when I remember when I was asked to rate papers, I was like, oh my God, kaun
Yeah.
karega?
I know.
But it's a form of a disease. But if you find your joy, right? You think about golf or cricket, right?
Sure.
You're hitting a ball again and again and again. If I told you to play this game that you've never heard of and just keep hitting a ball in a hole, you'd be like, kaun karega for 10, 20, 30 years?
True.
Everything is like that in life. And if you find the thing that you enjoy and you find people you love working with, which I'm very lucky, one thing you get as a founder is to pick the people you get to work with, because I can usually fire anybody I don't want to work with. If you can find your curiosity and find some good people, life is a lot of fun.
Beautifully put. And of course, I am going to take you up, Anshu, on that
The
podcast
Failures
idea.
podcast.
For sure. For sure. You and I are going to do one. For sure. I'll send you my thoughts on it. And we should definitely try to collaborate on that and do it. But I have to just say this, Anshu, it's been fascinating speaking with you. I think what I've been able to take away is the fact that you're one of the most curious and brilliant minds that I have met in the recent past. And all I can say to you is that I only wish uh, victories, no more failures for you and your team. I guess because you've gone through your your entire quota of them till now, and I feel that now it's about time that you went onwards and upwards. But before I let you go, I want you to give a message, Anshu, to everyone who's listening about the aspect of, well, I have to say this, the made in India aspect, because I'm very proud of it. And I think the way we are moving,
Mhm,
uh, we are moving towards something which is going to be unprecedented in the future. So I would
mhm,
like for you to maybe share something with us on that.
mhm, mhm. I'll give you two thoughts there. One is the made in India that you think the way it is, and the second is make in India, maybe the way I think it is.
Nice.
Um, so first of all, look at all the amazing movies we make,
Yes.
right? You can't go to New York or some town in Nigeria without somebody like trying to tell you some like Devanand song or whatever,
Right.
right? So India's always produced cultural things. India's produced things, tea, cotton. Sometimes we feel weirdly enough that exporting things is not like good for the country. So sometimes we don't export certain kinds of mangoes, and sometimes we do, and we get confused. So one part of Make in India is to be proud of trade, and trade means exporting and importing.
Sure.
I think India has become a very open economy. When I was growing up, it was a very closed economy. You guys have no idea. You couldn't have bought an iPhone for like even
True.
$1 million in those days,
True.
right? A regular landline used to take a
Yes.
year or two to get. So Make in India is working. We have billions of dollars worth of iPhones being exported. We have billions of dollars worth of software being created in India. At the same time, that's only possible because somebody else made some of those things elsewhere.
Sure.
So keep that in mind. So Make in India works when we import an IBM computer and then we write software and then we export 100 times more worth of software.
Sure.
So every Make in India starts with made in somewhere else.
Okay.
The second is we should be proud of both the things we make in India, but also the people we made in India, right?
Beautifully put.
Sundar Pichai,
Yeah.
Satya Nadella, all of these founders like Bipul Sinha and, Dheeraj Pandey and all these guys, we are all creating this ecosystem. If you think about it, Bangalore is closer to San Francisco than it is to some cities in northern India, and San Francisco is closer to Bangalore than it is to Chicago sometimes.
Nice.
And we've created this interconnected world, and that, as a result, is because of people we created in India. I got created in India by IIT, right? Somebody donated that land in West Bengal,
Sure.
and they created that school of IIT. Some taxpayer paid money for it. Hopefully, I've created, hundreds of jobs probably in India now, and I've paid some of those dues back. But
Nice.
I think we should be exporting amazing products, services, and thoughts and ideas.
I couldn't have put it better. And I was just going to say, well, you've talked about a list of people who got created and who got made in India. Please very proudly add your name to it, Anshu, because definitely we are very proud of the fact that you've gotten made here. Of course, this is wishing you, Skyflow, all your investments and your happy, crazy, curious mind, all the best moving forward. And I can only say this, that at the end of the day, the journey that I've seen as far as you're concerned and the little glimpse that I've had in terms of your life, I can only say, my God, it's been fascinatingly exciting.
Well, I'm just getting started, so we'll have fun.
Nice, nice. Well, I wish you all the best, Anshu. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show on Simulated Reality. And I really would like for you to keep coming back and having conversations with us as we keep moving along. And all the best with that negotiation, and more importantly, that paper that you have to read.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anshu. Pleasure.